Microphone's not moving. Here we go again. How long is that? Fun stuff on the.
I know.
Who's telling you that?
By DC.
Hey Dan, thank you.
Okay, here we go. I can hear you now. We're good.
Can you hear me now, Dan?
Yep.
Dan, is that you?
So it's something with the way we plug in that.
It's this box right here.
Mm-hmm.
Click it just right.
That's part of the
Okay.
department's fault. That's their fault.
Yeah.
See, I ain't getting blamed for something today.
Butch's fault.
Which is fun.
It's always Butch's fault, right?
Anyway, we don't want to repeat all that, do we?
No.
No. So we're just going to cut right to. Thank you for the heads up there, Dan. We're going to go right to the. If you're looking for a protection dog, or if you want to know if your dog's a real deal, there's no better exercise than what we call in pro sports civil agitation. In this particular exercise, I designed with the help of a lot of streetwise canine handlers and some of the top French ring trainers or agitators, helpers. What we were concerned about was at the time we started pro sports, the only two bite sports there were Schutzhund and now IGP, and French ring, and then Mondial ring, which wasn't done in this, still is not done in this country.
You don't see much of it.
So the biggest complaint some police departments had about buying a Schutzhund trained dog was that they were sleeve happy, equipment oriented, and that happens. I mean, it's a definite real thing. Okay, so I wanted to design an exercise that would proof the dog's intentions to take out a man and not a piece of equipment. The problem you have with that is you got to ask somebody to stand in front of the dogs without any equipment, right? Mm-hmm. So, it'd be like going to a nut kicking contest without your cup. You really wouldn't get a lot of participants. So there's where the civil agitation came from. And what we're doing is we're standing the agitator in front of your dog 10, 15 feet from him. You have a line you cannot cross because we have to look out for the safety of our agitators as well. You have a line you can't go forward past that line. If you do, you're DQ'd. Your dog is on a leash. You come in to the field with your dog, whatever, at a heel, at a run, however you transverse your everyday carryings on with your dog. You go to the designated spot and you ask your dog to sit, stay, down, stand, whatever. Again, we don't tell anyone what commands to use in pro sports. That's not the purpose of a certification. Everybody has their own way of dealing with their dog. We want to respect your way of dealing with your dog, okay? So you bring your dog to this spot and you stop. And you and your dog are stationary, just looking around, smelling the roses, enjoying everything. And then a person that's standing 10 feet away from you, jeans and t-shirt sometimes, just civilian clothes, will look at you and nod. You'll give a command to your dog. Your dog should immediately alert on the person in front of him, go to the end of the leash, and present an intimidating picture. And again, if you look in our rule book, all of these things, how the judges judge and what the dog's supposed to do is all written out for you. There's no surprises. So your dog is now at the end of the leash presenting an intimidating picture. So if your dog immediately alerts on your command, which they should, then to reward that alert, this agitator is immediately going to jump into prey drive. He's going to make a lot of short, quick moves. He's going to run towards the dog and tease him a little bit and back up. What we wanted to do is get the dog's confidence up get his prey drive up really high so he just has no doubt he can take this booger out, right? The agitator will work the dog for 5 to 8 seconds, 8 seconds being the ideal. Then he'll turn, walk away, freeze, show his back to the dog, turn around, and this time instead of jumping up and down and being lively, he's just going to make eye contact. And he's going to threaten the dog with body posture and facial expressions and move towards the dog in a manner that's definitely threatening. So what we're doing at this part is first we're seeing how reactive the dog is when his prey drive's triggered. Does he yawn even though the guy's being real excited, or does he get just as excited? And then when you switch, will he switch his drives immediately from prey to defense? And when he switches to defense, will he decide flight is better than fight? Because they can do both.
Mm-hmm.
The original Schutzhund courage test, the way I learned it when I first was at my first Schutzhund trials, was the courage test. Well, they send the dog, they hit the sleeve, and the helper goes and swats the dog with what they call a slog stick and just whacks the heck out of him. I've seen dogs leave the field with whelps on them. And the purpose was to see if, when switched immediately from prey, I went and got the rabbit, to defense, ow, ow, it's hurting, will the dog stand in defense and fight? There's a lot of other beliefs about it, but that's what I was told back in the 70s when Schutzhund first came here. That's the purpose of that. And so we incorporated that into our civil agitation. If the dog stays at the end of the leash, and our judges are going to look and they're going to know that dog has just switched from I'm going to get you to you done been got. He'll see it. At that point, we use a distraction. Now, the rule book says you can't use any distractions that are specifically dog training tools. You can only use for a distraction something that's encountered in real life. Over the years, we've used stuffed toys. We've had little radio-controlled cars zoom past the past the dog's nose. The biggie is tennis balls. We hardly ever use tennis balls except at the finals because, no, it's not specifically a dog training tool, but a lot of people use tennis balls to train their dog. And we all know it. In prey drive, that dog's going to be, yeah. So let's go with it. Well, my favorite was the round stakes we used out here at our finals in 2018. And I was the agitator. You wave we had a big old round stake, and you wave it in front of the dog's nose. First you got him all, and then you show him the stake, and you fling the stake over there, and if he runs for the stake, or the ball, or the stuffed toy, or any distraction, takes him away from defending his handler, which could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Then the agitator runs in to the handler, and we have a PVC pipe with about 30 inches, I think, what it calls for. It's got a marker on the end with chalk, and he'll run in and if you get tagged, that's the equivalent in real life to having somebody hit you up beside the head with a baseball bat.
That's where it's exciting for the agitator too.
Yes, it's
Maybe nimble.
yeah. So Scott's tried a little of that, hadn't you, Scott?
That's a bit.
Exciting, huh?
Yeah.
And the crowd likes it, you know.
Yeah. They sure do.
And we've had, we've had dogs walk away with pieces of material in their mouth in the civil agitation.
Skin in your teeth.
Yeah, and so the last part with the stick, that's for the crowd because we want them to have some fun too. Our judges are really judging from the point of the alert was this dog intimidating? Because remember what we're saying, excellent security dog, civilian protection, should be able to intimidate and deter anybody from deciding to go on ahead and try to rob you. So that's our biggie on our score sheet. Our judges are going to mark that your dog looked like Godzilla coming out the end of that leash. Then we're going to switch him from that was easy, that's all prey drive, to this sucker wants to get me. And we're going to check out his defense and see if he's prone to choose the flight over the fight. Simple as that. And in all of this exercise, there's not a sleeve, not a suit, not a tug,
Nothing.
nothing. Nothing to tell the dog that this is anything but the real deal. And that's our first civil agitation for security division. What do you think, Mr. Sinclair? You've been there. You've looked at both sides of the dog, on both ends.
Yeah, you can. You'll see it. You know, some dogs are looking for the sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. They're looking for the sleeve, and it changes them up a bit to where
Oh, yeah.
you'll find out real quick. You know.
We did a trial in Virginia, and we had a gentleman who had imported a Ring 3 champion of champions, paid many thousands of dollars for him, and he was just sure he had this man-stopping, beast, and he had really no interest in pro sports. But where we were doing the trial, he happened to live right down the road, and it was a police dog trainer, his kennel, who was sponsoring the trial, and that was a friend of his. So he brought his Ring 3. It's like a 7-8-year-old, many times Ring 3 champion in France, been to the world championships and all this other stuff. The guy paid a fortune, and a nice dog. And he was asking me the difference between the patrol and security, and I explained it to him. And he says, well, because everybody thinks this. Well, let me just go easy, and I'll just go with the security division, because, it's all on leash. So he got his dog out there for the civil agitation, and this dog had no idea what the guy standing in front of him was doing. And even then, when the agitator took his little thumbstick, we call it, and hit the ground a time or two, the dog just jumped back and walked behind the guy. This is one of the top, at the time, French ring dogs in the country, and absolutely would have been a terror that would have taken anybody's throat out had his training been different.
Yep.
But with the type of training he had, there's no reason to get mad at somebody standing in front of you just because they're standing in front of you. So that's why I've always felt that this is the most important exercise we do in pro sports.
Yes, it is. 'Cause it makes the dog honest,
That's a good way to put it.
and you can go ahead and it's a way of applying pressure to without applying it. That makes any sense. Mm-hmm. He's not on a bite.
Right.
So on the bite, they feel they're locked in. That confidence. I got it.
That's
But
right.
this way here, you're coming in on the dog, you're threatening. It's a whole different presentation. It's this. There's nothing else.
Right.
Yelling, hand waving, body movement. So it's
It's the real deal.
yeah. And there's I know places in Dallas that all they do is civil agitation. They don't use sleeves very often. And
You got some tough dogs.
tough dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
They bite the sleeve, but they're not looking for it.
Right.
They're looking to bite you.
Right.
You gotta wear scratch pants or pants because they'll bite you if you move wrong. So
And
the dog's keyed in. It's not. They don't care about the damn sleeve. And we got some dogs here like that too. They'll fight the sleeve. Then once you slip it, the dog just splits it out. He wants to fight. We had a podcast a few weeks back. We talked about this about their competitors.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
This
They want to
bring-
win.
This will bring it out even more.
Yeah, and you can, I'm going to put up some pictures when we get our screen back. You can tell when a dog's going for the sleeve or the man, you know, period. And what we're trying to do is give everybody an opportunity to find out if their dog is sleeve happy, we used to say, or if he's really, you know, taking out the guy. But there's another, I'm going to go a step further here. There's some dog training disciplines that believe in deterrent. I'm 100% on board with them. And they'll tell you the most important thing in a personal protection dog is that alert, deterring, scaring people off if they try something. And you don't really need to teach them how to bite because that's, you know, if they're not scaring the guy off in the first place, the dog wasn't worth feeding, basically.
That's it. The dog can come out and present itself like King Kong.
Yeah.
That usually does it.
That will do it, absolutely.
You don't,
Right.
you want a mouthful of that? No.
Don't want it.
Bye.
But I'm going to go and we did to that end in the guard dog business. We didn't, at first I did, because again, I was heavily Schutzhund influenced in the beginning. But we didn't concentrate on the bite near as much as we did on what we call fence kicking. Put the dog on that sight and just get him so riled up that anything that touches that fence that he's in and that yard that he's in,
Bonkers.
yeah,
Frothing at the mouth and
yeah,
trying to come through the fence.
that's it.
That's deterrent by itself too.
And that's, well, oh, and by the way, somebody sent I'm bad about not answering replies. I'm going to start doing that, I promise. If you have a question, write it in. I will spend the next day going through and answering. But somebody asked and said, essentially, hey, tell us about all the gory, the gory stuff you saw. We're going to do that in a couple of weeks. I'll give you a couple of gory ones. But right now, those dogs at that fence slinging slobber stop the people from any thoughts of breaking in.
Make you think twice.
Yeah. So, but there's something you can do in your everyday life that's even more important, I think, than a strong alert. And it's simpler to achieve. And it's this. We know that the sight of a big dog is going to be a pretty strong deterrent, discouragement at least, let's put it that way. Just the sight of a big dog is going to be a strong discouragement. We also know that there's boys that get enough toots snuffed up their nose that they don't give a damn, right? I heard something about somebody kicking somebody's dog in the jaw, I forget where it was, and robbing them at gunpoint here not too long ago. So I think there's one other step that comes before the aggressive alert that's more effective, or at least as effective, and that is precision obedience. Simple as that.
Yeah. You see something, yeah. You see a dog acting right,
Yeah.
and something you say, it's like, oh, well.
Look at those two. That dog's sitting still. Well, just a man stopped walking, and he just sat right there and waited for him.
Yeah.
You know, the man started walking. That dog stayed right there beside him.
And dog's in tune with the surroundings, and
Doesn't care about surroundings.
not really. You do with it. You don't care.
Right.
You just sit down, sit. And the ones you got to watch out for, to me, are the nonchalant dogs. They're just walking around. Sit down, Aries.
Yeah.
People are like, what the hell's going on there? What? It's what? You just sat down. What are you supposed to do? I mean,
Yeah.
he's lazy like me. He likes to sit down a lot. Just sit down right there.
And Scott and Carol Ann both know they take their dogs to the grocery stores with them.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Every store. It don't matter where. They go.
And the people that are impressed, how'd you treat your dog to do that? If you put it in the opposite connotation of the person who's aggressive, he's going to have the same reaction how'd you get your dog to do that? But there's going to be a next step, which is going to be, I ain't screwing with you, because listen to him, listen.
Yeah.
So a strong obedience, that's why there's 300 points available for a certification in a security dog division. I think 350 for patrol dog. 200 of those points are in obedience.
Yeah, I agree. It should be that way. Mm-hmm. You know, I've got people think, "Oh, my dog can do that." Does he listen to you? No, he can sit. That's it. Yeah, but he can do all that. Well, I don't know, you don't listen to you. How the hell is he going to listen to your commands?
Right.
I never thought of it that way. So, to me, that obedience, being a big part of it, is a big part of protection work too.
Yes,
They go hand in hand.
absolutely. Now, I mean,
It comes out to where you're stronger on obedience, then you work your protection work up, and it's a balance basically. I'm thinking,
I agree. That's exactly.
and after a while, your balance is here with both of them. Mm-hmm. But it's a balance. You know, I had someone tell me once that you have too much obedience that'll hurt your protection work.
Popular belief, Scott.
I was like, I don't think so, but
It's nonsense.
nonsense.
It's nonsense. So,
And your dog ain't gonna cut your steak for you and clean your glass or nothing, but you know,
they're going to behave. So,
they come over and think about it though.
yeah, and I don't know how to say this. There's been a lot of people, a lot of the clubs, a lot of the trainers. They'll do some sort of club trial to have their own form of protection training for their customers, and that's a great way to get everybody together and to show off what your dog can do. But I have noticed at a lot of the trial, well, that some of them, there's a bunch of them that do things that look like civil agitation. I'm sure they've seen our trials, or a lot of these people I know competed in pro sports, but they don't quite get the idea. So what we'd like to do, that's why we put everything in the rule book, is exactly what the judge is looking for. And if you can see what the judge is looking for, you can apply that to the street. Exactly, straight from the competition field to the street. No problems.
And people have different way of holding their dogs. People have different way of alerting their dogs. People have different way of recalling their dogs. But in pro sports, like you said, we're not worried about how you give your dog his alert command, how you bring him to heel, how you hold your dog. You really,
Right.
because pro sports is kind of morphed out to where it encapsulates, because you can only alert a certain way. A dog alerts, a dog bites, a dog outs, a dog recalls. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how you do it.
Right.
If he does it, he does it.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be in a certain. These clubs, you go to their trials and they do things a certain way. You got to do it a certain way, and that's good because you've got a following. And you got people that come there to train dogs. That's for those people to see where their dogs are at.
Right.
Like a pro sport, you bring it to pro sport. You can come. I don't care if you're coming from Mississippi or you're coming from Alaska. It all morphs together. It's the basis of the competition and the certification are the same, no matter how you command your dog.
Yep. And there's one thing.
I mean, should I say, it matters how you do that to your dog, but how you achieve that vocabulary or how you do it to get what we're looking for.
And your technique. Everybody's technique is different.
Yeah. So,
Right.
But it all works with pro sports.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't think coming out here and holding your dog a certain way, because I'm big on handlers, how they hold their dogs, and it's more for safety.
Yep.
For both of them, and when you get into crunch time, gravity's funny, and if you get your apex put out, your dog's pulling you over. What good is that? And that's another story. But
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox here.
Well, that's good points, and I'm glad you mentioned that because I wasn't thinking about it. The other goal, the first goal we had was exercises that are street actual. In other words, things that can happen that'll show your dog's ability to stop a man. That's it. That's what a security dog does. That's what a patrol dog runs down a person. A security dog stops a person. Big difference, if you really think about it. Big difference. And we had to come up with exercises, scenarios that illustrated those differences and allowed the dog to show how good he was. So one of the things that was concerning was the fact that, like I said, at that time, the only two bite sports in America were French ring and Schutzhund. And obviously, we're going to get some of these dogs in pro sports coming to compete. By the way, we are the first, and I think to this day, still the only dog sport that pays cash money back instead of just trophies. So that's why we considered ourselves a real professional group. So with the money, I knew we'd have people from these sports coming in. We had to, I felt, to devise the whole plan of pro sports so that if you're doing Schutzhund in German commands or French ring in French commands or Malaysian in melee commands, whatever, we don't care. In most sports, you have to stick to the command in that language because what the judges don't want to know is, or do want to know is, if you're cheating. So if you use a language they're not familiar with, you could be double commanding your dog. So there's very strict rules about how the handler communicates to the dog. You don't think they're strict, go to the AKC, say sit, and then look like that and watch yourself get disqualified for a body cue because you looked over your shoulder. Mm-hmm. They're very, very strict. They're looking to see the control that the human has over the dog. In pro sports, it's the opposite. We're looking to see what the dog can do on his own once commanded by the human. So the command you use, we don't care. If there's a big old ugly Scott Sinclair out in front of you going, playing agitator, and you holler, Rumpelstiltskin, and your dog goes and removes part of his nose, we don't care.
I do.
I'm gonna say, mange-les.
Manger, yeah, you can do manger if you want to do French. That's great. Mm-hmm. Eat, but
Eat them.
Anyway, these are some of the differences between a certification and a sport. Although we're set up to where you can win a trophy, you can win money, you can win a trial, you can also win a certification. So, hope that was helpful. April 20 is our deadline we're shooting for the next trial, and we'll do a little bit more pro sports if we get some interest next week. Mm-hmm. If we don't get interest, we might just do the gory stuff. I don't know.
Let's keep doing pro sports stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So
leave comments on what you all want to talk about too. We can morph this into pretty much anything.
Right.
If you have y'all have any subjects or subject matter you want to talk about, just shoot it out there, and we'll do our best to accommodate you.
Right.
So.
And if you want to ask some questions in the reply section, please put them in there. Mm-hmm. I will spend my Sunday afternoons going through every reply each week and answering everybody's questions. So, what do you think, Mr. Sinclair?
It's like talking prize money and handlers, but in the end, you come to pro sports and you leave that day, you'll know it's all about the dogs.
Every time, folks.
Every time.
Every time.
We'll see you next week.